Right, welcome back to the Unfan Podcast and welcome to another League One roundup. Match week 26 didn't disappoint whatsoever. Take a breather, everybody. So many talking points, so much to break down and analyse. That's what we're going to do in the episode today. 4 selected games. We'll be touching on the other matches as well. Let me know in the comment section down below. How are you feeling? I imagine we've got some happy League One supporters and some not so happy League One supporters. Give me your thoughts. I'll be replying and discussing all of that. Make it a discussion. Make it a forum. Leave a like. 100 likes on the roundup is what we always try and do. Let's keep that up. The growth of the podcast is absolutely exceptional. Let's keep that going. Let's keep that rhythm going. That's down to you as well. Let's not mess about. Let's get into it. Join the Discord server for ongoing, constant League One discussion and some interesting concepts of videos for you to get involved in very, very soon. The link to that is in the description down below. The admin's done. The excitement is... Well, it's not done yet, is it? It's not done yet. Let's just sort of round up what we've experienced in what, like I said, has been quite a jam-packed Sky Bet League One weekend of football. So it finishes Fleetwood 1, Oxford United 2. The XG for the game 1.94 to Oxford United's 0.87. I mean, it wasn't a great watch. I wouldn't want this one on Sky Sports. And not a great advert for League One football. Oxford fans, I mean, we don't really care. We win the game. But we're more than that. You know, we will break it down. We will discuss it because it wasn't great. It wasn't great. And Fleetwood fans will quite rightly feel quite hard done by. I think that is a fair feeling from their point of view. First half, no doubt, they were the better side. We were really, really poor. We were second best. We couldn't get hold of the game. I mean, it was almost... I know this is quite dramatic, but it was a sackable first half performance from Carl Robinson's side. It was that bad. It was honestly dreadful. We did not have any type of rhythm. We didn't look in control in a defensive phase, in an attacking phase. The midfield, I mean, we took Marcus McGuane off, who arguably has been our best player. The midfield, and Collinson said it in his post-match interview, and I 100% agree with him, to be honest with you. We did not look like we were getting any type of freedom, creativity. It was almost like we didn't really know what we were doing. The tactical first half must have been torture from Robinson. It was really, really poor. And Fleetwood as well, they capitalised on it, and sometimes an opposition and the most successful sides, they do that, and they did that very, very well. Fleetwood were really, really good. You can see by looking at the momentum graph here, they were the better side. They could have been easily more than only one go up at the break. It was 1-0 to a Fleetwood Town going into half-time, and Oxford, we thought, I mean, I was looking at Twitter, and that's not always a brilliant place to break down a game. I did watch it. I wasn't at Fleetwood, but I did watch the game on iFollow. I mean, it was really, really quite bad. O'Donker started the game as well, which I thought on paper was a good decision. He didn't really get in the game. But then I feel bad, really, because I look at that front three. You can see, look at the player ratings. And like I always say, SofaScore player ratings can sometimes be quite misleading. But that isn't very misleading, to be honest with you. Josh Murphy, Wilshere, O'Donker, all three of them couldn't get in the game because we're really on the back foot. Fleetwood definitely pinned us in. You can see not many moments for Oxford to get forward. And we know that using Josh Murphy, using Wilshere on the wide areas, and we know Gatling O'Donker, the enthusiasm and the energy that we've been crying out for him to be used for, really, with him, you know, being played over Matty Taylor. He was eventually dropped and he got his opportunity. But it wasn't really the game for Gatling O'Donker, especially in that first half. He did get taken off in the end around the 73rd minute. But I wouldn't blame him for that. I wouldn't blame him for not really getting any service, ultimately. That's the bottom line. I look at the second half, we did improve. It couldn't get much worse. I'll be honest, it couldn't get much worse from an Oxford perspective, but there was an improvement. I thought Carl Joseph came on. He was a bit of a bright spark. And fair play to Joseph, because I've been really, really critical of him, and I was quite critical of him in the early parts of his time on loan from Swansea City, and you know what? He's improved massively. He really, really has. I think he's come on leaps and bounds, even with an injury. He's come on leaps and bounds. His first game back since that sort of 2-3 month injury after he got taken off. I think was it an ankle injury or a lower leg injury against Shrewsbury. He's come back and he's a fighter. He is a fighter, and what you can never ever, I think, criticise him for is the work rate or the lack of work rate. He's always going to give you a bit of energy, a bit of enthusiasm, and he's going to run and run and run. And he came on, he did that, and he opened the game up a little bit. And the goal he scored was really, really good, actually. He took on 2 or 3 players and weaved his way in the box. A little bit of luck, of course, there was, but I think an element of luck really was across his Oxford United performance. That's the truth of it. He really, really did run into the area. I think the determination, he wanted it a little bit more than the defenders, I'd argue. He got in there, and it's a good finish, and it's 1-1. It's a really good time to score. Thankfully, it did come. And then, really, I thought Oxford were on top for the last 20 minutes. I thought Fleetwood maybe tried to hold on to what they've got, which can be quite dangerous. We're a definite culprit of that and have been for the last couple of years. But actually, the sort of tables turned a little bit and Oxford came at Fleetwood. And then we scored the goal in the last minute. It was a corner, a really, really, really bad goal, really. But I won't care. I don't really care. I'm not bothered. And Kieran Brown, who scored the goal, won't be too bothered either. Sort of Elliot Moore heads it back in. Then Kieran Brown keeps it alive. Then he tucks it away, sort of niggles at it and gets it into the back of the net. Eventually, 90th minute, last minute goal. Look, the bottom line is, and I want to sort of really quite emphasise this, we weren't very good at all. It was a poor performance. But sometimes, against Fleetwood, we have a horrendous record against Fleetwood and have had for quite a few years now. I know last season, I think we did beat them home and away. But before that, it was a really, really quite bogey team mentality when playing Fleetwood. We did show a real level of determination. I think Carl Robinson has well said this, and I don't want to repeat everything he says because I don't agree with everything he says. But one thing I would say is true is that when you're not playing very well and when we didn't play very well, it comes down to desire and who wants it more at the key moments. At Oxford, you'd say the way that we really did come into the game eventually, it did take time, was really, really good. I thought the substitutes were very, very good as well. I think they were very, very smart. I think Carl Joseph coming on made total sense. I think Bowden coming on for McGuane also did make a difference. Tyler Goodwin brought a little bit of energy. Taylor, nothing really you can do about that. In terms of scoring a goal, not scoring a goal, to be honest with you, the service up front, it was a graveyard shift up front, really. Nothing went through our number 9 and our centre forward. And then Kieran Brown, he's had a pretty tough week or so with lots of off-field stuff. Of course, I won't comment on that any further. I can't do that, but he has had a very busy week, should I say, and he did get the goal at the end of it. So he will have a little bit of relief to sort of finish off the last 7 days that I imagine has been fairly hectic. But yeah, it wasn't very good. I think Ben DM'd me after the game straight away and he summed it up brilliantly. 2 poor sides going head to head. In the end, it comes down to a goal that sums up the game, really. If you go and watch that Kieran Brown goal, that was the game. That did sum up the 90 minutes of football. And really, Fleetwood and Oxford United season. Can we push on? We need to be still very active in the window, I feel. Again, Gatlingo Donk, I know everyone was crying out for a start for him. At the same time, we do need another body. I know Carl Joseph's back, but I actually think Carl Joseph is much more effective out wide. I thought he's got that ability to run and be very, very good in terms of him actually taking players on, be very direct with the way that he takes defenders on, takes fullbacks on. We saw that with the goal he scored. So I think that is important, but we have to dig deep, and we did. When looking at the stats, we'll touch on it briefly, and then we'll have a little look and see what this sort of means for the two sides in the league table. But looking at the possession stats, we did have more of the ball. They had more shots. I want to look at the first half statistics. 15 shots to 4. That's what I mean when I say we're lucky to only be 1 goal down. Simon Eastwood could have done maybe a little bit better with the goal he conceded, but I'll be honest, he could have made it much, much more difficult for Oxford if he could let in some of the goals that were fired at him or shots fired at him that easily could have been goals before he conceded. So we've got to definitely look at Simon Eastwood and congratulate him and thank him for the way that he certainly did keep us in the game, because it could have been 2 or 3. Second half, a little bit more even. Same sort of possession stats, really. We had more shots. They only had 1 on target. I felt Fleetwood maybe got a little bit, I don't want to say complacent, because that, why would you get complacent against Oxford? We were there for the taking. But I think maybe there was a drop-off for Fleetwood, and Oxford came into the game in the second half, which was an absolute necessity. And we had to face Fleetwood and do the job, and we did somehow, eventually. And then we've got Ipswich next week, and that is not going to be very easy whatsoever. But in the end, it finishes Fleetwood 1, Oxford United 2. Give me your thoughts in the comment section down below. My man of the match, I mean, Joseph came on and changed the game in my eyes, so I probably would edge towards him. We'll sort of brush that one under the carpet, but take the 3 points away from it as well. I think that's probably a fair way of looking at it. Unlucky Fleetwood, I think you do feel and will feel hard done by, because, yeah, 2 poor sides, really, I'd say. Right then, let's move on to the next one. Wycombe Wanderers against Sheffield Wednesday. It finishes Wycombe 0, Sheffield Wednesday 1. The XG for the game, 0.29. There you go, for Wycombe, and 0.51 for the away side. And the winning side, Sheffield Wednesday. Another win for Darren Moore's boys now. Of course, beat Newcastle in the FA Cup, but their league form as well has been very, very good. 4 straight wins for them now, 55 points, only 3 points away from Plymouth, who are top of the table still after their draw with Ipswich. We'll come on to that game, don't you worry. And they've got a game in hand, Sheffield Wednesday, as well. So, look, I mean, it's not. I mean, it is in their hands, sort of, with that game in hand. But of course, that win, if they did win it, would see them level on points with Argyle, and their goal difference is better, isn't it? So, I mean, it technically is in their hands if they do win it. But look at the league table now and look at that result. Really, it's really, really important. And we know Wycombe are very, very tough, especially at home. Really, really challenging. The way they set up under Gareth Ainsworth is always going to make it really, really quite frustrating at times. You're going to have to be really, really resilient. You're going to have to be defensively really, really solid, because when Wycombe come forward, they won't be, ticking it around often, but when they do go quite direct, they can see the clear focal point up there with Hanlon. They've got the skill, I guess, of Mehmeti that can drift as well. He can come central, but also drift out wide and give them that wide area to also be quite effective. McCleary's quite a pacey player as well. He's not, he's not easy to defend against. He's quite good on the ball. He drifts out on that left. It's quite a well-structured Wycombe side. We say it quite often, but you've got to stop them, and you've got to stop the focal point of Hanlon from getting in behind, but also holding up the ball, and then again, Mehmeti, like I said, and the other wide players sort of looking and looking to sort of, I guess, drive away from Hanlon as that, wide outlet. So, it's never easy. It never is easy to sort of face, and that's why they've been so successful in the last couple of years. As for Sheffield Wednesday, they did the job. And really, you look at the XG, 0.29 to 0.51. It probably wasn't a brilliant game of football. Not massive chances. But Sheffield Wednesday, it's one of those where you go, regardless of the performance, we need to just get this job done and get out of here. And I predicted a draw, I think. I might have predicted a Wycombe Wanderers win, actually. So I do apologise for that. But it is a prediction. And the reason why I did that is because I know Wycombe can be so effective at home. They've torn teams apart at home this season. And these are top sides as well. When Portsmouth was still in that top six, I know they were on the sort of the start of their downfall, but they were still a very, very good side. And not many people expected Wycombe to do the job. They beat them very, very comfortably. I think Sheffield Wednesday are better than Portsmouth, so that is something I want to sort of set quite straight. But they still have the ability to do that, and it's a sign. It's a sign of a side, Sheffield Wednesday, that really do believe. They really, really do believe, and these are sort of results where you look back at the end of the season when there is success. Dare I say it? I don't want to foreshadow any maybe jinx in there, but when you do look back, you go, that was a big result. That was a massive result at Adams Park, because not many sides go there and win the game 1-0 or keep a clean sheet. Not many do. And that has to be taken, I think, with a lot of credit. And Darren Moore, people have always got a little bit of question marks on him, but this has to be a very, very well tactically planned encounter, because Gareth Ainsworth, he knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing 100%. Early goal, first 10 minutes, Will Volks scores the goal. And then you can see by looking at the graph there, the attacking momentum graph, first half fairly equal. Wycombe probably started the better side. And then as soon as Sheffield Wednesday came forward with their first chance and their first effort, they scored. Then fairly even, Sheffield Wednesday probably finished the half the better side. Wycombe with the last couple of chances in the last final 5 minutes of the game. And the second 45, arguably Wycombe, and then sort of Sheffield Wednesday end it the better side. So there is definitely, quite an equal game. 52% possession to Wycombe. That's a surprise. And maybe that's a clever move from Darren Moore. They don't really want possession, Wycombe. So actually, if Sheffield Wednesday can hold off a little bit, they won't be caught on the break. It's rare to see Wycombe have more of the ball. They don't really like having the ball. So to have 52% possession, potentially, that could be quite a clever Darren Moore plan there. Allow them to have the ball, because then we can be really well structured out of possession, because they can definitely catch them when they don't have the ball. So I think that's quite a clever, cool tactical thing that Darren Moore did there. 12 shots to 8. He did have more shots as well. You know what? I look at that and I would not be surprised if that was the wrong way round. Normally, Wycombe have less possession but more shots. And that's exactly what Sheffield Wednesday did. So fair play, really, really good. Almost gave them a little bit tasted them a little bit of the opposite medicine, if you like. So a taste of their own medicine. That is definitely the saying. I butchered it slightly, but you know what I'm trying to say. 400 passes to 362 passes. So again, very, very interesting. First half, actually, Sheffield Wednesday with more of the ball. Second half, actually, it was the opposite. So that's interesting. But yeah, really, really well done, Sheffield Wednesday. Look at the league table now, like I say, 4 straight wins. Wycombe, a defeat, a little bit inconsistent in the last 3, but still definitely in the mix. Only 2 points away from 6th, but Barnsley do have 2 games in hand. It's actually 6 points from Bolton. They're on the same amount of points, so they're roughly about 6 points. We'll have to see what happens with Barnsley's games in hand. But really, Sheffield Wednesday, fair play. Never easy. They dug deep. They did the job. And that's a sign of a side that really do mean business. Let's move on, though. Really well done to Sheffield Wednesday. So finishes Bolton Wanderers 3, Portsmouth 0. The XG for the game 1.06, the Pompies 0.81. A difficult afternoon for Portsmouth. We'll come on to them in just a second. But we must start with the winning side, Bolton. They were very, very good. 3-0. 3-0. Yes, Pompey, I mean, they are in disarray at the moment. Potentially a crisis. But Bolton, they had an opposition in front of them and they had to do the job. And they did. And sometimes, Bolton this season, they have been inconsistent. And we've sort of spoken a lot about inconsistency with Bolton. But last sort of, I'm going longer than that, 5, 6, 7 games, they have shown a level of consistency. And they have been very, very good. And you've got to give them massive credit for that. You really, really do. Like I say, Portsmouth, I mean, at the moment, that club has, I mean, I can't write them all down, but a long, long list of issues. A long, long list of issues. Without a manager, a goalkeeper that hasn't played a game of, I think, professional football for a long, long time. I think he's played 3 professional games. I could be wrong there. I don't think he's played in League One before, so that is certainly something to highlight. A player's been recalled every day, it seemed, last week. Karoma, Griffiths, the goalkeeper, obviously, and again, people have discussions about were they very good on loan. The bottom line is they're players, and they are players that could have been very, very helpful for Portsmouth in some way in this game. Especially when they're in the trenches together, because it does feel they are in the trenches. At the moment, they're definitely on the back foot. You know, but and I look at the fact that Danny Cowley, of course, massively struggled. But Tom said it. Tom said it, and definitely go and watch the end of his video. If you don't watch all of it, I think the end of his video was really, really good. Sorry, Tom, that's not going to help with the retention of the audience, is it? But yeah, watch the entire video. But the end, I think he summed it up exceptionally well. And one line that I'll always look back on when I sort of reflect on that video is these issues lie much, much deeper than Danny and Nicky Cowley. And I saw the comment section, and I'm not a Pompey fan. I have no rightful opinion, ultimately. It doesn't matter to me, really. You know, it doesn't matter. And Portsmouth fans will feel like, you know, why is he even talking about it? It doesn't matter to him. My opinion shouldn't matter to you, really. But this is a football channel. This is a League One channel. It's a podcast. I'm going to discuss football. And you know, Tom's right there. I saw the people in the comment section and everyone shouting for Danny Cowley's head, and everyone has the right to do that. Things weren't very good. Any other manager, it would probably end up with a sacking as well. So was it a justified sacking? On results, probably. On performance, probably. But the issues are much deeper than Danny and Nicky Cowley. And if people thought that getting rid of Danny and Nicky Cowley was going to see them soar up that league table, I mean, it's there, isn't it? It's in front of you. You can see it. That isn't the truth. That isn't what's happened. And, yeah, they need a manager. They do. But Tom's right as well. I think these players need more than a manager. They need more than a manager. That, you know, it's rotting, really. That football club is rotting. It sounds really, really, you know, quite harsh. But the playing staff, I mean, I feel so sorry. Is it Bassi, the interim manager? I watched his post-match interview. He looks dejected. You know, he's dejected. He looks so helpless, doesn't he? He looks helpless, and I feel so sorry for him. He shouldn't be in this position. They should have appointed a manager. And and again, I'm no director of football. I'm no chairman. But was there no plan? You know, when Danny Cowley got sacked, was there no plan at all? You know, would you just keep? You know, were they hoping for a new manager bounce maybe, or a no manager bounce when they got rid of Danny Cowley? Because clearly they didn't have somebody in line, or maybe they did, but that hasn't happened. That has come to fruition. So I look at it now and I go, could Danny and Cowley done much worse than what we've just seen? You know, could they do much worse? Would they have lost 3-0 to Bolton? Maybe. But you'd rather have Danny and Nicky Cowley that established managers than an interim manager and a coaching staff made up of people that are under 21, under 18s and goalkeeping coaches. Maybe not that, but similar. You're not far off. So, look, regardless of it, I'm not saying bring Danny and Nicky Cowley back and saying it's a horrendous decision to sack him, because maybe the new manager comes in, he does get a real tune out of these players. But I do wonder, was there a plan there? And if there was, what's happened? Because it hasn't happened very quickly. What was it, 2 or 3 weeks now since he's lost his job, or they lost their job, the Cowley brothers? It's weird, isn't it? It really is quite weird. Pompey fans, let me know in the comment section down below. Bolton, I'll come back to them. I mean, you can see by looking at the graph there, they're much better side. Really, really good. Quite confusing why they've gone with the same colour here on SofaScore, but there we go. I thought Dion Charles, of course, scoring a goal was massive for him and massive for his confidence. We know the strikers. Ndulu was on the bench, obviously, so there is no competition with that front line. But Varson came off injured, so Ndulu got a really quite early introduction, earlier than he thought, 37 minutes into the game. Kieran Lee, the captain, also got in with the goals. That's refreshed. That's annoying. We're in the middle of discussing something there, SofaScore. That's a little bit off-putting. But you can see Randall Williams, of course, the new player, playing on the left-hand side. He's definitely energetic. He's a very, very good player. I believe they got him he was on loan, wasn't he, last season somewhere else. And he's on loan in the first half of the season. I want to say Mansfield. I could be very, very wrong. But I know they've got him permanently now. That's a really good pickup. He was doing really well in Sky Bet League 2. I know that's where he was playing. But I think Bolton now are finding a real level of consistency. I don't want to jinx it as well because, I know I do have words that can jinx football matches. And I know, and that is a problem. Trust me. Oxford United for quite a few years. That is true. But there is now a level of real rhythm, and that is really, really quite spectacular and crucial, ultimately, in what Bolton want to achieve. Look, Pompey weren't very good. They didn't have a very difficult opposition against them, but they had to do the job. Because a lot of people, and I was the same, I think I predicted 1-1 for this game, because I thought maybe Pompey, when they are against it, Bolton could be a little bit complacent, but they weren't complacent, and that's what we have to respect Bolton for. I can't believe I'm saying the word complacency against Portsmouth Football Club, who are in League One with the history and the size of that football club. But the bottom line is, that's where they are. They're not very good at the moment, and they're in ultimate disarray from top to bottom. So Bolton, they could have, taken their foot off the gas a little bit, but they didn't, and they kept going. And their home fans will be very, very proud of them. Really, really proud of them. And the whole football club should be very, very impressed with what they saw. 44 points now, of course, give them a real cushion in that top six. Pompey, don't scratch your eyes. They haven't won a game in November, December, and still not in January. It's the 15th. We're nearly 2 weeks into January. Over 2 weeks now. 15 days into it. 15th in the league. 31 points. 10 draws, 6 defeats, 7 wins. There's a problem there. There's a real problem. For Bolton, though, like I say, they had to get the job done. They did that. It finishes Bolton Wanderers 3, Portsmouth 0. Well done to Ian Evatt. Well done to those players. They beat what's in front of them. Fair play. Good result, I'd say, for Bolton Wanderers. So the final game of the 4 selected for a deep dive. Don't worry, we will touch on the other ones, but it finishes Ipswich Town 1, Plymouth Argyle 1. The XG for the game 0.88 to Plymouth Argyle's 0.75. Late heartbreak for Ipswich. Late jubilation for Argyle. Bali Mumba, a wonder strike into the top left. On loan from Norwich City. Does that make it worse? It probably does from a Ipswich perspective. But a great strike, a brilliant strike. And not really anything Ipswich could do. Maybe close him down, but in the last seconds, normally, that does sort of rocket over the bar. And as an Argyle fan, you go, pass the ball one more time. Get it in the box. But he hit it. He believed, and he hit it like he meant it. And that was some strike. And it sends Plymouth... could have been quite a long journey, couldn't it? I mean, it's a long journey anyway into the distance, but it could have been even longer with nothing. They come away with a point, and fair play to them. Ipswich, like I say, really, really tight game. Both sides have some really big chances. I mean, I come back to it. Harness hits the bar, and then Ryan Hardy, arguably, is a sitter, really, isn't it? Ryan Hardy, he could have scored one before the late equaliser. And it really hit the crossbar. It should have gone in. It's across the box. And Ryan Hardy, a striker of his level and his quality in League One, and he has proven he's a top striker. Normally, he'd expect to hit the back of the net. Maybe he's leading back. Maybe, again, that he's quite intense in that type of environment. But normally, a striker of that quality, we know Hardy can do it. He tucks that away with absolute ease. It wasn't to be. It does. At that point, it's still 0-0. They could have taken the lead. You can see when the big chances came, can't you? A really big chance there for Plymouth Argyle in the first half. Again, Ipswich did also have their moments. I know Wes Burns sort of got a good chance on the break as well before he scored the first goal in the 63rd minute. A really sort of classic Ipswich goal. Roof of the net for Wes Burns, sort of lays it off to him, and then it's a great strike into the roof of the net. Nothing anyone could really do about that. Close range, sort of, just inside the area, but a brilliant strike. Kept it high, but not so high that it sort of flew over the roof of the net and flew over the bar into the top corner. Great goal. And then you look at the way that Plymouth reacted to it. They could have gone, right, we've given everything. We know the home record can be so good. But at the same time, Ipswich, we have actually said, I know it's sort of a little bit of a different example because Plymouth are a great side and have proven that they're top of the league. We know that really, if Ipswich don't score that second goal, there's a chance. They've had some real late concerning moments, haven't they? And they also have been a little bit of a culprit of not killing the game off. And they could have killed the game off. Of course, Argyle are a top side, and you know that if they're going to get another chance, there is real danger. They've proven it this season. But again, they're going to be kicking themselves. They couldn't hold on, and they couldn't maybe have killed that game off earlier because there were other chances. Harness got, like I say, hit the crossbar earlier in the game. You could also say, of course, Argyle also could have made it 1-0 for their opportunity. So my 2-2 prediction that I predicted, it could have been all right. So I'm going to claim it. It was a draw. I felt, when you sort of everyone builds it up as this type of game, a draw normally is what happens. a title decider. I mean, title decider, Sheffield Wednesday fans will be thinking and probably saying, I spoke about it earlier in the episode, they're in sort of a sandwich of that title decider, and Wednesday now, with their game in hand, like we discussed earlier, it sort of is in their hand. Back-to-back draws for Plymouth, not defeats, but 3 draws on the trot for Ipswich. So they're going to be thinking, right, we need to start turning these draws into wins sooner rather than later, because that gap is getting bigger. They have got a game in hand on Argyle, but that now is a gap of 7. So it can be cut a little bit shorter, but it is really, really... I mean, it's opened it up now, hasn't it? Derby could maybe get in the mix with their game in hand. Who knows? You know, we spoke about a 3-horse race, even with Bolton as well. It's really, really close. I mean, Derby have got 2 games in hand on Plymouth and 1 on Sheffield Wednesday and Ipswich, and on Bolton. So I would say it probably still is a 3, but it can be opened up further and further. We've still got a second half of the season, or quite a large part of the second half of the season still to be played. We're still very, very early after the halfway point. So who knows? But yeah, it was a really quite fascinating game to sort of watch the extended highlights. So I, of course, didn't watch the game. It was a 3 o'clock kickoff and I was watching Oxford United. But looking at the stats, looking at the breakdown, speaking to fans, watching the extended highlights, it was really open, but also really tight. Does that make sense? Not really. Chances were there, but again, it sort of felt like there was a lot on the line. And there was really, if this does go either way, Ipswich are either really back in the mix or Plymouth sort of do run away with it a little bit. 50-50 possession. I mean, that says quite a lot, doesn't it? 50-50 possession. 12 shots to 9. Exactly the same when it comes to on target. 1 big chance each. 1 big chance missed each. Of course, we spoke about the chance of Ryan Hardy and the other player. What's his name? Harness, of course, who scored who hit the crossbar, so you can see where the woodwork is there. But yeah, really, really close. First half, 51%. Second half, completely the opposite, but very, very tight still. 51%. It's obviously possession to Plymouth. 51% for Ipswich in the first half. Look at the new signings as well. I know Hurst came on. Of course, he's on loan from Leicester, I believe. Broadhead not on the bench after his permanent move from Everton. I can also see as well on the Plymouth bench, early, of course, has joined the football club. Tariq Wright, of course, exciting player, has also joined. He's on the bench, 59 minutes. He comes on. Finn Azaz is fit. He played the last 10 minutes, got the assist for the goal. Ben Waine also made an appearance, of course, after his move from New Zealand. So only Matete started that side of a January move for Argyle. I think that's right. Of course, we know what Matete can do. He's a very, very tenacious central midfielder. Did really well when he moved from... Where did he move from to Sunderland? He went from Sunderland. He came from somewhere to Sunderland, didn't he? And then he now is on loan from there. But he is tenacious. He will get very, very much stuck into a game. And in this type of encounter, that's probably why Schumacher started him, wasn't it? It was that element of, can we be really, really nitty-gritty? Can we make it quite tight at times? And can we win that ball back in the midfield and win the midfield battle? Because in a type of game like this, winning the midfield battle is crucial. It does finish 1-1, but... yeah, a really good game of football, really. I was really, really intrigued to sort of see what was going to happen. I was worried it was going to be 0-0. But 1-1, at least we saw some goals. At least we saw some. Right then, the final games. Cheltenham 2, Derby County 3. A brilliant game of football, but Derby do get the job done. They win the game at 3-2. They probably were the better side when looking at the graph. But Cheltenham, they didn't make it very easy for Derby, did they? They went 1-0 down, Derby, at one point. They came back very quickly. I believe 2 goals very after very in quick possession. Yeah, 2 minutes, 1-0 down, then 8 and 11. Straight back to 2-1. No messing about, but a great win for Paul Warne. Again, one of those where you go, right, probably wasn't the best of performances defensively, you'd argue, but we get the job done. Let's get out of here quick and look at the league table with a little bit of optimism of where we could potentially go here. So finishes Charlton 2, Barnsley 0. When looking at the graph, a little bit surprising actually. Barnsley did have their moments. The XG, I've got it in front of me here, 1.59 to Barnsley's 0.99. So nearly Barnsley did have 1 overall with their expected goals. But Barnsley at the Valley did give it a good go, but in the end they concede 2 and they lose it. In the end, we're looking at the scoreline fairly comfortably, but really, really important for Dean Holden. They are now getting a little bit of rhythm going. Something could be happening at Charlton with Dean Holden. He's getting a little bit of a tune out of these players. A couple of signings in midweek as well. Todd Kane, McCulley Bond coming through the door. So there is a little bit of excitement, maybe optimism at Charlton, because it was looking very, very concerning, very, very worrying. But maybe there could be a slight turn of the corner. We'll have to wait and see. But a good result there. Maybe Barnsley will feel a little bit hard done by when looking at the graph there. But Charlton as well, they had to get it done at home. They win the game. That'll be very, very nice for them. Exeter 1, Forest Green Rovers 1. 1-0 down at one point, Exeter. I would say they were comfortable favourites, really. Forest Green Rovers not in good form. 4 straight defeats coming into this game. They now do get a draw. Not great, really, when looking at their relegation fight, but Burton got battered, so maybe they won't be too concerned. And MK Dons dropped points as well. But it is a draw, and for Forest Green Rovers, on the road, that is a really good point. Exeter will feel disappointed by it. They are better than that. They did show, and have shown across the season so far, they are much, much better. But Forest Green Rovers, they're always going to make it very, very challenging, not allow Exeter to play the football. They can play and have done extremely well in the first half of the season. But a good point for Forest Green Rovers. Exeter, though, they came back from 1-0 down and really gave it everything in the last sort of 10-20 minutes of the game and scored the goal. They'll be very, very happy with that, but it could have been better and probably should have been as well when looking at the two sides and what they've shown us in the first half of the season. MK Dons 0, Lincoln City 0. The quicker we move on, the better. Doesn't seem like a very good game for MK Dons. For Lincoln, it is a draw. They didn't lose against a side lower than the league table, so that is good. But MK Dons do draw, which they probably should do a little bit better when looking at that. Accrington 2, Bristol Rovers 0. Bristol Rovers, not a very good day at the office whatsoever. Accrington, though, they did really well. Won the game 2-0. A few chances of Bristol Rovers, you'd say. Their goalkeeper, Accrington, Toby Savin, got man of the match. It doesn't seem like a great game. Doesn't seem like it was one to sort of remember for too long, but it is important that Accrington, in their ongoing relegation fight, they did win the game. I imagine Joe Burton wasn't very happy about that. So they do lose the game 2-0. Not much going on there for either side, but like I say, in a relegation fight, Accrington, John Coleman, they won't care. Cambridge United versus Morecambe got postponed. Burton 0, Shrewsbury 4. That's more like it for Shrewsbury. That's more like it. Really important that they got the result. A little bit of a frustrating run they've been on, but they do get the job done. They win the game very, very comfortably in the end. Burton, they'll be very disappointed by that. Their sort of resurgence potentially does now fall on their backside a little bit. But like I say, Shrewsbury have been through it a little bit. I've heard about injuries potentially. And lots of different setbacks for them when it comes to team selection. But for Shrewsbury, it was important that they got the job done. They definitely did that in some style. Burton did come forward at times, but Shrewsbury do what they do best and keep it quite physical. Shea Dunkley had a goal as well. Did he score one goal? He got a really good high rating. Yeah, he did get only one in injury time, but did well, Shea Dunkley, there. That is all the games. Of course, Port Vale faced Peterborough United against each other on tomorrow night. That is tomorrow night, Monday Night Football on Sky Sport. So they are not part of this roundup, obviously. I can't react to a game that hasn't happened yet, surprisingly, but that we will touch on that on the predictions in the week. Thursday, probably, we'll be doing a prediction and preview show live. We will touch on that game, I do promise that. Give me your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hopefully you did enjoy it. I've been Jack, this has been the Unfan Podcast in the Discord server. Do leave a like and subscribe, show your support, hit that notification bell as well. That way you'll be notified when I go live or do a recorded episode just like this one. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, enjoy the rest of your week. We'll probably keep in contact over the week. There'll probably be a video or two over the next couple of days, but yeah, I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care.